Now I'd like to invite all the kiddos up here. As you probably noticed, I forgot to put treasure chest moments in there. And my good bride reminded me that I did that, which is a good deal. And May, can you step off the cord there for a second?
I'm not on it.
Oh, I didn't want to trick you. Okay. Well, don't wait for a special invitation. Come on up here. I'm going to sit right here.
Can I get on the table?
Yeah, you can get on the table, sure. Okay. All right, we're going to, you want to open that up? Sure, go ahead. That's right. Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's see what it is. Go ahead and grab it out. Can you believe it? Take a look at this. What do you think of that? Yeah, it's a teddy bear. It's probably a girl teddy bear, I think.
A sunflower.
One never knows. But anyway, sunflower. That's right. That's right. It's a sunflower. A sunflower bear. All right. Now, what I'm here. Hold on to this so everybody can see it. Okay. I know you're having a hard time seeing that, aren't you? Okay, let's see. This is what it is. Okay, let go of it just a second. We want to give him a good shot. See that?
Yeah. Got it.
Okay. Now everybody at home can see what we're talking about. You really did it to me there, dear. You probably heard. No. She's trying. Anyway, today when I'm preaching, I'm going to tell you some stories here, and we're going to hear about Jesus. Did you hear about Jesus just a couple of minutes ago? You know, he had this woman that came up to him, and her daughter was really sick. I mean, really sick, and she really wanted to have her daughter healed. And so she came to Jesus. Now, she wasn't like all the other women. She was different. You see, Jesus was a Jew. That was one ethnic group. In other words, it's kind of like we would be Americans. Okay, so she was Jewish, and we have Jews around here too. They worship God according to their religion, and so we might say that we are Christians, so we would be different than the Jews. Well, back then, this woman, she was a non-believer. She didn't believe in God. But, all of a sudden, watching what Jesus does, she came to the conclusion that, hey, maybe he'd help her. So, she came to Jesus, and she knelt down on her knees. And she said to Jesus, Lord, would you please heal my daughter? And Jesus said something really weird. He says, why should I take bread and throw it to the dogs? Come on over here, Aiden. You need to join us. You're my favorite redhead. Yeah. And so Jesus said, why should I take bread? In other words, what belongs to the Jews, why should I give it to a non-believer? Why should I do this for you? But you see, this woman began to have faith in Jesus, that Jesus could do something. He could heal her daughter. And she said something really kind of neat back to Jesus. And Jesus was kind of waiting for this. She said, yes, that is really true, but even the dogs will eat the crumbs that fall from the owner's table. Isn't that cool? You know what that means? It means that she believed that even the little things that Jesus would do for her, like heal her daughter, for her that was a big deal, but you know, she thought, well, this is kind of a risky thing. And Jesus tells her, wow, do you ever have a faith? And he healed her daughter. Isn't that cool? That is really cool. And then, if that wasn't enough, Jesus goes on from there, and he's brought to him, the person that's brought to him is a fellow that is deaf and he can't speak very well. And so his friends brought him, and they said, "Can you heal this man?" And so Jesus, rather than making a spectacle, in other words, making the guy really nervous and that people are just going to be staring at him, he took him aside. He took him off to a place where people wouldn't be watching. And what he did is something really different. We might think it's really gross. But what he did was he put his fingers in his ears. So that's not so much unusual. You know, I'm sure you put your fingers in your ears, right? Yeah, kind of like. Yeah. Well, then he did something that we think is kind of gross. He spit, probably on the man's tongue. Yeah, can you imagine? But when he said that, he looked up to heaven because God the Father, his Father, was listening. And then he said in his native tongue, which is Aramaic, he said, "Be opened." And all of a sudden, this man could hear everything. And he was able to talk plainly. Isn't that cool? Just think of what Jesus is able to do and is willing to do. Wow. So, what does that mean? Now, remember what our theme was when we had Vacation Bible School, you guys that were there? What did we say? Ride for the brand. And I'm going to tell you some things in fact, what was next on this? It was it a song? Joy, joy, joy. We're going to save that because I'm going to just do the sermon right now while you guys are right here. And maybe these stories will help us understand. When Jesus was testing this woman. You ever been on a test? You guys ever had a test? Yeah? What kind of a test have you had? Huh? Did you ever read something or have somebody read it to you and they said, "Okay, now I'm going to ask you what you heard"? That's kind of a test, see? And the reason we have tests is to see if we're listening and learning. So, Jesus wanted this woman to be very serious about what she was asking. And so when she asked him to heal her daughter, he gave her a test. He said, "It's not right if I take what belongs to my people and give it to you because you guys are not believers." And she said, "Oh, but wait a minute. I think I'm getting it. And so I want you to give me just crumbs. Just a little bit." See, she had a little bit of faith. And we are told in the Bible that if you have even a little bitty faith, you can move mountains. You know, not literally, of course, but big things, big problems you have, you can get rid of them. See? Well, she was asking for something pretty big, but she was a little scared because she had just an itty little bit of faith. Well, Jesus took that and he says, "Man, is that ever wonderful. You have faith in me, and so I'm going to do what you asked." And her daughter was healed. That is so cool. So, what happened was that Jesus discovered, he was checking her out. He wanted to see if she was ready to ride for the brand, okay? If she was ready to follow Jesus and believe in him. And so she did. By saying that, you know, even the crumbs, even those little things that you'll give me, I can receive. I can trust you. And as a result of that, she rode for the bread. Now, we're not told what happened after that. We don't know if she went and told other people, but I'll bet she did. Because if something really wonderful happened to you, what would you do? Would you just say, "Whoa, I'm not going to tell anybody about that"? Would you tell somebody? Would you? Yeah! All right. Well, if somebody... I'm going to just go out on a limb here, okay? And I'm going to say to each one of you, okay? What if somebody gave you a horse?
I'd ride it.
You'd ride it. Would you tell other people that you had a horse, or would you just be quiet? Wouldn't you tell other people that you had a horse? Somebody gave you a horse? What do you think? Yes? No? Don't care? What? Well, I'll tell you what, if somebody gave me a horse, I'd let them know. I'd say, "Thank you, thank you, thank you," and I'd say, "Do you realize this person, I didn't even know him, gave me a horse?" By the way, that did happen to me when we were in Jacksonville, Wyoming. and it was a beauty. It was a quarter horse thoroughbred cross. She could run like the wind, and she had all kinds of stamina, but then she died on me. We won't go there. Anyway, I didn't ask God to heal my horse, okay? So we tell other people. So we don't know if she did that. But then, when Jesus went on, and he talked to this man who couldn't hear, he couldn't speak very well, all right? So his friends brought him and they said, can you help this guy? And so Jesus takes him aside. He takes him off to a different place. And then, remember what I said, what Jesus did? What did he do? What did he do? What was the first thing that Jesus did to help this man? He took him to a different place, and then what did Jesus do? How did he help heal the man? I think Miss Terry over there had it. Did you hear what she said? Remember? He put his fingers into his ears. Now, ordinarily, we don't like that. Somebody comes up and puts their fingers in their ears. All right? But Jesus did that. And the man was probably wondering, what in the world is he going to do? But then, Jesus spits on the guy's tongue. Yeah. You see, back then they believed that spittle, saliva, your spit, it had healing properties. In other words, it would help. Well, Jesus used something that those folks believed in, and he used it as a tool to help this man to speak again. Now, it sounds gross, but that's how Jesus did it. And we are told that he was able to hear plainly, and he was able to speak plainly. Jesus, when he took him aside, he was kind of testing him out too, to see if he might ride for the brand. He had a sneaking suspicion, I'll bet you, that he would, because after he healed the man, you remember what happened? Well, this man began to tell everybody about Jesus and what he'd done. And his friends were doing it too. And Jesus says, no, don't do that. And the more he said, don't do that, the more they did. You ever done that? Somebody says, don't do that, and you did it anyway? Yeah. Well, you know what happened as a result of that is that Jesus realized this man was riding for the brand. And this man was so excited about being a part of Jesus that he couldn't help himself. He had to go tell other people about it. Now, I'm going to challenge you, okay? Because you guys know who Jesus is. And if you don't, you can learn who Jesus is. And when you do, you find out that Jesus loves you more than you could ever imagine. He loves you, well, he loves you this big, this much. He loves you that much. And how much is that? Well, you can't even figure out how far and deep and wide that love is for us. Infinity! Very good. I like that, Aiden. It's, remember, you guys ever seen Toy Story? All right, Buzz Lightyear, or what is Lightfoot? Lightyear? It's not Lightfoot, it's Lightyear. Okay. Buzz Lightyear, he says, to infinity and beyond. Infinity and beyond. Well, that's how much Jesus loves us. To infinity and beyond. And that's what how much Jesus loves you. You can't make Jesus not love you. He does it anyway. And that's good news. Because when we kind of get into trouble, or we're feeling sad, or whatever it might happen to us, we can remember, we can be sure, we can trust that Jesus loves us. And because of that, when we get to know him, we find out we've got joy. In just a second, we're gonna sing a song. I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. You ever sung that song? Huh? Some of you may have, but it's an easy one to pick up on, and I hope that you sing it really well. Okay? So, hearing all about those things, we can say with all the saints, is there an amen? Amen. All right. So, I want you guys to just kind of sit here, and we're going to sing together. I'm going to bring my old guitar over here, and we're going to sing, I've got the joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Are you ready?